Today is June 1st of 2022. That means that I have seen 3 May movies. There's also another one I want to see, which is the new Chip and Dale movie. But I have seen 3 of the movies so far, and so today I am going to rank them. But before I do that, please take a moment to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below. What is your ranking of all May movies you've seen? What May movies have you seen? How would you rank them? I want to know all that and more down below. With that said, this ranking, I think I'm going to go by, this is what I personally think the better movie is. Now, my number 2 and 3 spots, they're mixed. My number 2 spot is, I enjoyed more than the number 1 spot on here. The number 1 spot on here is my 3rd favorite of the year, and the number 2 spot on here is my 2nd favorite of the year. They're just really kind of flipped here because I personally think the first one here is a way better movie, but I enjoyed the other one. So, just in case you were confused, that's what it was. And with that said, in last place, actually, is Firestarter. This was a franchise that I was kind of looking forward to. I never really heard of this franchise until I saw an ad on Letterboxd for this new movie. Then I did some research, and it sounded like it could be an interesting franchise. And the first 2 acts of this film, to me, I thought they were fine. I didn't necessarily hate the first 2 acts. I did find a lot of bad stuff about it, like it clearly does not have good acting at all. A bunch of the pacing problems were wrong, but it was interesting enough and held my attention. And then we move on into the final act. And this movie just goes full psycho mode, really disturbing. And it doesn't even make sense. I was enjoying this film until, like, it just went full dark mode. It felt like an enjoyable enough movie. And then it went into dark mode and was like, you know what? We got to make this a horror movie somehow. And it feels so out of place to where it doesn't even make sense. Like, the last scene is where the bad guy is carrying the daughter away, and we're supposed to believe that she would do that. Like, what? It makes no sense. Like I said, the acting, this was terrible, and it was bearable, but I personally say that this acting is completely awful. The pacing is odd. The way they use music is odd. There is, like, nothing good about this movie. I mean, sure, it kept me engaged in the first 2 acts, but there's literally nothing good about this movie. This movie, wow, this is my least favorite movie of the year. I don't necessarily think it's as bad as all the movies like Trolls World or Hard Kill and my least favorite movie of last year, Thunder Force, were. I definitely think this is the better one of all 3 of those. I don't think it's going to remain last place for the rest of the year, but wow, this movie sucked. And then we got Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, personally, like I said, this I thought was I enjoyed this movie better than I enjoyed my number 1 spot, and if you saw my last video, you already know what my number 1 spot is. But this movie is really great. It has a great way of combining Sam Raimi's style with the MCU style to make an MCU horror movie. And when I say horror movie, I mean horror movie. There's some messed up crap in this movie, and I was all in for it. My only problem with this one, and I'm delving into spoilers in this one, yes, there's going to be spoilers in the title of this. I have spoilers for all of these movies, in case you only saw the first part of the title. But, I mean, this movie, what they do with Scarlet Witch, I wasn't 100% on. It doesn't really feel like her character to instantly change like this. Feels like she would be smarter than that. But, you know, that's not a real big problem with this film, because the stuff they do, the stuff that Sam Raimi gets away with doing, is really awesome. I really like how Marvel is doing this to their universe. First, you have No Way Home, which is basically taking the story of Peter Parker, kind of warping it around, having big multiverse stuff. It's really awesome. And then you get this movie, which has the cameos, has everything you're going to expect. But the thing is, these movies aren't necessarily just relying on the cameos. This movie made a horror film inside the MCU that isn't just about cameos. They mess some people up, they continue Doctor Strange's story, and they made this basically one of my favorite MCU films. I mean, I have a bunch of favorite MCU films, but this is one of them because of how messed up they can make this one. And my experience going to see this on a first date was pretty nice as well. But I highly recommend you see this one. If you're not a big horror fan, just wait to watch it at home. There's stuff with demons. This isn't necessarily for kids. But I personally had a blast with this film, and I found it awesome. But in first place is Top Gun Maverick. And like I said, I did enjoy Doctor Strange 2 more because that's a horror movie. But it's not worth denying that this is not a perfect film. This is a very, very, very fantastic film. This is much better than the first one. It has the emotions, but even when it's not just the emotions, it has the story, it has the character dynamics, and on top of all that, it has the action. And the action is really what sold this. I was having trouble staying focused, just like I did on the first one. But then you enter this third act, which is basically just 3 final battles, and it's long, it's awesome, and it's just a miraculous theater experience. Even if you're not a fan of the first Top Gun, I highly recommend you watch this one. I definitely was not a fan of the first Top Gun. I thought it was fine, but I found it had very, very much problems with the film. And it also was just thrown on this tacky final battle. And this one, you have the payoff that you've been waiting for. The payoff is awesome. Then you also have the emotions, the character development, and the performances. This movie is perfection. I cannot believe that they managed to make a perfect sequel to Top Gun that even matched the original. This is definitely one for the younger generations, and I love this film. I highly recommend you go see this one in the theater with your family members, because this movie is very, very, very good. But thank you for clicking on this video. That was my ranking of all the May movies I've seen. I want to know yours down below. And also, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell. If I get to 100 subscribers by July, I'm going to have a big, big surprise for you guys. But please do that, and as always, make sure to subscribe to Join the Nerd Army. Peace out.